One of the greatest booms in history occurred because a man missed his mother. It's true. Henry Ford was not only a brilliant engineer, he was a bit of a mama's boy. And when he moved to the city, he couldn't very easily get back home to the family farm to see the people that he loved. In his day, you had to be rich to own a car, and at that time, Henry Ford was not rich, at least not yet. He didn't invent the car, but he was the first person to really understand how transformative transportation could be, how incredible it would be for people to be able to efficiently get around and connect with the people that they love and opportunities. His North Star became to make a car affordable for the common man so that it wasn't just a novelty for the rich. And when he designed the Model T, the most astonishing thing happened. The men who built his cars could buy his cars. Yes. And as Tom alluded to, this unleashed a wave of prosperity across America that went on for decades, launching countless industries, thriving for materials and supply chains. It changed where we lived and how we worked, and it transformed our culture. I'm Michelle Corson, and I love cars, as evidenced by the fact that I'm sitting here in an old paint room at our new Automotive Technology Collision Training Center. I have the, I'll try to show you, first Corolla made in the United States here in my office. That's serial number 1. I started on the road lending because I wanted everyone to have the opportunity to know the freedom that comes from being able to live your best life, work at the very best job that you can take, not be limited because you don't have reliable transportation. And honestly, I wanted everyone to know the same kind of joy that cars bring me. Doesn't matter what the make or model is or what the price tag is, cars are something fun and useful for many of us. I'm often asked, can a low-income person really afford a car? Why should they even have a car? I would submit to you that they can't afford to not have a car. And in fact, most of us cannot either. If you don't have a car, you aren't shopping at Costco. You're going to the convenience store and you're buying little bitty packages that cost 10 times more because that is all that you can carry. You don't get good food. You don't get medical care. You don't get your kids to school on time. You may not get yourself to work on time. In that world, there are a lot of no's and a lot of don'ts. One of the best ways that I can share this life with you is to tell you the story of one of our clients, Pam. The day before we delivered her into her car, I went with her on her journey into work. We left her home at 3:30 in the morning. And I know it's the end of the day and you guys are tired and maybe not listening. I said 3:30 in the morning. And we walked a long way, a good mile, through dark streets in kind of a scary neighborhood to get to the bus. And that bus stopped 7 times before it got us to the train station in downtown Dallas. Pam and I were threatened there by a man on drugs. We ran around him, holding on to each other, and jumped onto the train. That went ever so slowly, very, very slowly, to another train stop that also went really slowly. We finally got off at 5:30. We had been on a journey for 2 hours, and Pam was still not at her job. In fact, she spent 5 hours out of every single day just trying to get to and from her job, a job which incidentally paid $15 an hour. In Henry Ford's day, a horse and buggy could travel at about 15 miles per hour. Pam's journey on mass transit was 12. Let that sink in for just a minute. She could have gotten to work faster on a horse and buggy. What century are we living in here? So what alternative would Pam have had if it wasn't for mass transit or on-the-road lending? Well, she'd have gone to a tote the note lot guy because Pam had poor credit. Like virtually all of our clients, like half of America, and in Dallas County in Texas, where I live, 68% of families have subprime credit. This is something that is very real and doesn't impact just the profile of person that you might think. She would go there and she would get a fairly crummy loan on a crummy car. Oftentimes those vehicles have been repossessed multiple times. They may have broken down multiple times or been totaled. And when the car fails, as it always does, she has a very difficult choice to make. She can repair the car or she can make the car payment, but she can't do both because she doesn't have the money to do both. And whichever one she chooses, she loses. Yes, that car gets repossessed. When she loses that car, she may very well lose her job. If she loses her job, she could lose her home. And if she loses her home, what happens to her family then? At On the Road Lending, everything is different. We started this organization because we wanted to provide something else for people who were lower income, poor credit, lack of financial knowledge, intimidated and easily taken advantage of when making a significant purchase like a car. We wanted them to have a business that would look at them as people. We gather credit reports because we want to establish a baseline, but all of our clients pay the same interest rate. We don't use risk-based pricing or vary what we're doing depending upon what their background is. They've made mistakes. They wouldn't be with us if they didn't, and all of us have. Every one of our clients pays 9.75%, no matter what their credit score is, whether they even have credit or not. And most importantly, they're getting help buying a really good car. Our typical car is a 2 or 3-year-old Camry or Corolla. It's low miles, it's under warranty, it's fuel efficient, it isn't going to break down and leave them stranded somewhere, and it's nice. What they get at the tote the note lot with our client's credit profile is oftentimes as much as a 28% loan on a crummy car. We want to help them to find something different. And if I can convince you of one thing, let it be this: a car is not a luxury, it's a necessity, particularly for working families who have children to get to soccer practice and school, get themselves to work, get their families around and do all of the things that they need to do as efficiently as they can and as safely as they can, where they're not going to be exposed to virus or anything, really anything else. We have kind of a warped business philosophy. Unlike everybody else, we don't want repeat customers. Our goal is actually for our clients to use us as a bridge between the subprime world over here that's expensive and hard and can be demeaning, and the prime world over here that is much less expensive and happier and easier and where everybody wants to be. That's the goal. And in fact, that's what happens. Very few of our clients ever are repeat customers. We function in that way of de-risking them so that they can move from this world over here to a more prime, fully engaged in the typical financial markets that exist. So what happened to Pam? Well, once we got her into her car, she got a raise and a promotion. She was no longer tied to a bus schedule, and she was able to take better work within her company. She sent her son to college. She got needed medical care for her mother. And every Sunday, she takes all of her neighbors to church with her. With every ride in the car, with every gesture of kindness, it's like a stitch, and it's weaving together this just incredibly strong fabric of community. That's Pam's reality now. And that's what we want to see for working families all across this country. If it's not too immodest to say, we think of it very much like the days of Henry Ford, when having good transportation can lead to this vast economic prosperity for people. That's the journey that we're on, and we would love to tell you more about it if you are interested, and happy to also share more about our collision center that we have opened in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.